It is day 24 of the Zombie Hunter build, and the truck is nearly done. There's just some minor things that I need to address. Minor when you're considering the work that I already put into this truck. Any other vehicle and any other person would probably say they're pretty major still. But comparably to what I had to deal with, they're minor. So let's just take a quick walk around. So this fender is done, rockers are done. I sealed that up. That just needs to be ground down and painted or covered in primer, and then the whole thing needs to be Herculined in the wheel well there. This wheel well, same deal. Just need to, you know, sand it all down, and you can see I left paper there, so that needs to be sanded out and then painted over with primer and then Herculiner. This whole thing needs to be washed before I do that, just so you know everything sticks. This rocker is all done. This corner or the fender here is all done. The rear is essentially done. I just need to sand it all down again and then apply body filler. There's no body filler in here, it's all fiberglass. So I'll apply Bondo to that and then prime it again, and then that'll be done. This all needs to be sanded down. This is just raw fiberglass on there that I just covered with primer quickly just to get any kind of bare metal that might have been exposed. This all needs to be sanded down, you know, put the body filler on it, prime it. Same thing with this section. You know, these doors are covered in fiberglass, there's no body filler. So I'm going to sand these down, put Bondo on it, and then smooth it out again. I know I'm coating the truck with Monster Liner, and it has a very textured appearance. But just in case, I don't want to have, you know, gouges in the Monster Liner. I want everything to look uniform. This is all welded in, all corrected. I just need to sand it down again, and then apply body filler, sand that down, primer it. This whole rear sill is done. However, I do need to sand it all down, put body filler. I'm going to fill this little area in, make sure everything's flat and smooth, looks good, and it all kind of has a uniform also look. And then finally, this corner needs to be addressed. I just need to sand this all down, body filler again, and primer, and it's ready for Monster Liner. The inside of the wheel well, or inside the rear tail light, that section I need to weld in. So I have a little piece I need to weld in there, and then primer it and coat it. And so that's why I have the jack underneath there. I'll have to remove that tire or that wheel to get access to inside the wheel well to do that. Now, the minor stuff that needs to be addressed today, aside from all that cosmetic stuff, is this door. All right, anyone else would probably say that was a major project here, but considering what I've already done, everything else seems kind of minor. So these tend to rust, you know, where the gasket is, the window gasket, or its seats, and so I need to cut this out and weld in new metal. So what I did is I have a little strip, so it's just simply, you know, getting that in there. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to remove this window. I hate to do that just because they're kind of a pain, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little piece of string, sneak it in there, and then pull it up and try to get that window out. You know, I pray I don't break it. I've done the same thing with the windshield before on a different 460 project, G-wagon project, and I broke the windshield. So I had to get a new one cut because their factory ones are super expensive. So, you know, this thing sits on here and then it rusts, but you can see just looking in there, it's missing. That little sill, little seam there that this gasket sits on, it's rusted out. At least in this section. I don't know if it feels like it might be there, but it's probably all crumply and nasty. So I'm gonna have to create another little seat for it. So that's the plan. I gotta fix that up. You know, I don't really necessarily need to address it as far as the exterior, you know, you can't really tell. But, you know, I could just fill it in with body filler but I want to do it right. You know, this one's nice. I don't know why one door got it, one door didn't. This might even be a replacement door. Who knows? You never know. The truck is 37 years old, so who knows what was replaced, what wasn't on it. So I'm gonna fix that today, and then you know, once you get all the heavy stuff out of the way, like all the bad rust and all that, you start noticing the small little imperfections. Okay, so one of the ones that I noticed is that there's, you know, I didn't even notice this until today. There's a little bit of rusting, like bubbling here. So what I'm gonna have to do here is just grind that down and hit it with primer. You know, clean it, put a fast stitch on it, and then primer it. And then this always happens with 460s or G-wagons in general, and you get rusting here. So this is all bubbling up too, and I'm not gonna take this windshield off because I know the headache that happens. Plus this gasket is old as hell too, so I'm worried that it might just crack if I try pulling it up. So I'm actually concerned about that one too, but at least that one's probably a lot less expensive and a lot less of a task than this one. You know, I've broken this windshield before. Not this one, but I've broken a 460 windshield doing the same thing. So I'll just clean this up here, and there's some more bubbling over here that needs to be cleaned up, you know, and then once I coat it with Monster Liner, you know, it'll be hopefully sealed up, and I won't have to deal with it for at least a few years, hopefully at least 10. This part also, I think I'm going to remove it. All G-wagons rust up there too, just because all the moisture and stuff sits inside there. So what I want to do is remove that and clean it up. And what I'm thinking about doing is the 463s have a big kind of like gutter guard that goes along here and it runs along the top there. There's another trim piece that goes there and it goes along the side. I'm thinking about getting that on this one. It'll kind of, you know, aesthetically it's good, but also for wind noise. I'm not really concerned about wind noise because this thing is not a highway cruising machine. You know, it's going to have enough road noise with the big tires that I put on it and everything. So it's just a noisy beast. But that's it. So take care of all that stuff. It's about to rain. Well, in the near couple hours, it's going to start raining again. So it seems like every time that I have a day off of work and I can work on this thing, it rains. So I'm going to have to rush to get everything done. And I have a few hours before it starts raining. So back to work. Oh, look at that. Spider webs, wasp larvae, all kinds of crap. What a mess. So, gotta clean this all out and then address that little gap right there. Alright, so that little patch, that little strip there is all welded in place. Now I just need to clean it all up. hit it with fast etch, hit it with the wax and grease remover, the prep, and then cover that with fiberglass, and then that's done. And this is going to be sealed up. This is where the welds penetrated into this sheet metal, so I ground that down because it was, you know, I don't want the paint lifting or anything like that, so I'd rather just redo this section. Then I just have to sand all this down, add body filler, sand it again, and then prime it, and this whole, most of the exterior stuff will be done. I have to grind these down, and it's like little rust bubbles here underneath the gutter. So I'm gonna grind these down. Hopefully they didn't penetrate. If they did penetrate, it's not really a big deal. I'll just plug in a little bit of fiberglass in there and, you know, grind it all down again. Also, this section too. So I don't know if I'll get to this today. I might not, because I have my priorities right now are finishing the rear and finishing all that stuff, and then also getting this. So I have to find some string or something to remove this gasket and then pull this window out and then clean this up. I only have a couple hours to do this, so 1 or 2 hours. So in the meantime, I'm gonna start taking care of that interior part, get everything sealed up, and then start sanding everything down. The internal stuff like this, you know, I can get to that later. I'd rather address it now, but I can always get to it another day. I want to make sure that I have everything done on the external part, you know, because then rain and whatnot won't hit any of the new metal, and all the repairs will be done. So pretty excited. A couple more days. Alright, so I covered all the welds and seams with long strand fiberglass, and so now when I'm ready to do the wheel wells and, you know, put the Herculiner on there, I'm gonna grind, sand this all down, get it all nice and smooth, and then cover everything with Herculiner in here. Alright, so I'll clean these up later, but at least for now, bare metal is covered, welds are covered, there's no seams, there's no anything in there. And then those are all sealed up. Alright, so I actually have to get going. I only have about maybe 20 minutes to work on this, and I have to head out. So I'm not going to finish this today, but I put fast etch all over this. I ground it down and sanded it down, and now I'm hitting it with fast etch. I'm going to leave this on there and let that soak in there, and hopefully all the phosphoric acid will neutralize any rust that's in there. just to clean it up. The tail lights and stuff, I'm gonna sand them down right now, and then I'm just gonna apply a thin coat of body filler in any kind of like little crevices and things like this. So once I sand this down nice and clean, then I'll apply just a little bit of Bondo inside there, patch that all up. I'm gonna put fiberglass right now in here, underneath here, this sill, and straighten that out so I could shape it. And then I have to spray this. I'm gonna spray that with primer right now, and that's I ground down the rust bubbles that were there, and then I also ground down the rust bubbles that were here. So what I'm gonna do with this one is I'll probably, because it's kind of pitted, but the rust seems to be neutralized, at least for the most part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a thin layer of fiberglass over that and skim it and make sure that it's all those little pits are filled in. So that'll be short strand fiberglass I'll put there. Same with this one. All right, so I'm just gonna put that in, and I have a nice skim coat of fiberglass to fill in any of the little craters and things, little nooks that I have there. This is all done. And again, I just have to put once I sand it down and put the wheel coating, which I'm going to use a Herculiner. I got a gallon of Herculiner that's just been sitting there. So I'm going to open it up and see if it's still good. If it's still good, mix it up and then coat all the wheel wells with that. So right now, I'll just sand everything down and spray what I need to spray, make sure everything's covered, and then I'm out of here. Alright, so I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish today, but I did get a lot done. The rear is nearly finished. It's essentially done. I just need to sand it down, put body filler, fill in all the little pinholes, sand it down again, and prime it. I fixed up this rear bottom sill, so now everything's flush, even. I welded in the upper piece there, so now this taillight is completely enclosed and sealed up from the elements. This one is as well. These were little rust bubbles were ground down, and I applied a primer to it, so that's good to go. The front of the truck, I had rusting issues up here in the front, a bunch of bubbling, so I ground it all out and applied fiberglass to it. I didn't get to finish the fiberglass off, but I need to sand it down, apply a little bit of body filler, and there was more pitting on this than there was on the other one, so these are a little bit deeper. That's why I used fiberglass on that and then evened it out. So I'm just going to sand that all down and then apply a little bit of Bondo, sand that, and primer, and it's ready to go. Ooh, good thing I just did this walk around because I forgot to cover this up. So there was a little bit of rusting going on there, so I just ground it all out. So I'm going to have to prime that real quick. But that's it. Exciting news though is once I get this done, I'm now going to purchase my monster liner. So I have to make the order, probably make it this week. And once I do that and I coat the truck, then I have some more toys to play with. So these are 4-centimeter spacers. A friend of a friend came back from Poland and I had them pick these up and bring them in, so I didn't even pay for shipping. Super awesome price, right? If I wanted to buy these in the States here or in Germany, you're talking like $400, roughly for all four. I got these for 300 zloty, which is the Polish currency, and that comes out to roughly $85 US. So I got a set of 4-centimeter polyurethane spacers, spring spacers, coil spacers provide the lift to install these 35-inch tires. They're 315/75 R16s. I got them off of Facebook sales actually. The guy was selling them for like $180 for all four. I talked him down to 100. He said okay. I drove out to the country, picked them up, and it was literally like an hour southwest of Chicago. All cornfields. The guy had them, and they're good. I mean, the tread pattern is good on them. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install them on the 16 by 5.5 inch stock rims for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these rims black and then squeeze those 12.5 inch wide tires onto here. It's going to be tight. It's going to be, it's not recommended to do it, but it's sort of like a poor man's beadlock, right? So I'm going to be able to air down and not worry about losing my my bead. And the tire, the tire will be tight. It'll be hard to get on. Really, that's the only real issue. And then the wear pattern will be a little funny too. So I'll have to play with the air pressures to make sure that the center of the tire doesn't get too worn down. But again, I rarely drive the truck, so at least it'll look good. And in the meantime, that's what I'm going to be running. But I am talking to Euro truck importers, and I emailed them about last week. He responded, but I guess they didn't really follow up on it. But I'm looking for a set of 16x7 dots steel wheels. So they're like the Dakar, the Paris-Dakar race. So they're called the Dakar Black or something like that. So they're like nice black shade of steel wheels. So I'm gonna get those, and those are better to accommodate a 12.5-inch tire. So I won't have to worry too much about how they're gonna wear. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get big mud terrains for those tires, and then these will be my backups. And that's it. So I'll fill you in on my purchases when everything comes in, and then the truck will be ready to coat within probably a couple days once the stuff comes in and I work on it. So in a few weeks you'll probably see a finished Zombie Hunter.